But in order for us to be as good as we were at Fair Park in the 90s, in order for us to be as good as we were in the 90s at Fair Park, we had to get the basics first. The boring stuff. The 5-stroke and the 7-stroke and the 9-stroke and the paradiddle and the flam and the paradiddle. Y'all don't know what I'm talking about up in there. I done went too far back. When you grasp the basics, you can put the basics together and get the major stuff. And see, the reason many of us are not receiving major blessings is because we have not tapped into the basics of God. So we skip the fundamentals trying to get to the big stuff, not realizing that God takes us by a process of step by step and little by little. And John, I believe it's John chapter 2, when Jesus was turning water into wine, and they ran out of wine at the wedding, and Jesus' mother Mary came to him and told him that they had ran out of wine at the wedding. Jesus asked his mother, "What does this have to do with me?" Because Jesus was focused on his major mission, which was the cross. But what Jesus didn't realize, which is what Mary was helping them realize, is that you can't get to the cross until you do minor things. Y'all ain't talking to me up in here. You've got to learn how to appreciate the minor before you get to the major. So if you can't take out time to serve these people at a wedding, y'all ain't talking to me in here on tonight. We want to preach the 500. We can't preach the 5. Somebody shout the minor, the minor, the minor. When you read the law, the 10 Commandments, when you read the law in the books of Exodus, when you read the law about the Old Testament tabernacle, this is where I stop. What you're reading is God's shadow of what he wants to do in the Gospels. And if the people would follow the shadow, they would eventually get to the substance. God never gives you the substance of a thing without first giving you the shadow of a thing. The problem with humanity, which is what the problem was in the Old Testament, was that we don't know how to shout and follow the shadow. Because if we ain't got the substance, we feel as if we ain't got nothing. Which is why when the substance showed up in John chapter 1, the Bible says he came unto his own. Give your neighbor a high five. Say, you're about to miss something because you don't know how to shout off the shadow. I ain't got no help up in here. When you hear a prophetic word from the pulpit that says your miracle is around the corner, that's your shadow. Follow it till you get to the substance. In the Old Testament, I'm closing right here, y'all. God was giving them the shadow of Jesus, which would come in the Gospels. He gave them a shadow in the book of Genesis when he told Abraham to take his son Isaac up to the mountain and offer him a sacrifice. God, he gave him a shadow in the book of Leviticus. He gave him a shadow in the book of Joshua. The problem was the folks stopped following the shadow. So when the substance showed up, they couldn't recognize him and they crucified him. And every time you leave church doubting what you heard, you crucifying your substance. Oh God, I got the wrong church up in here. That's why you can't afford over the course of the next 40 days to miss any opportunity to hear a word from God. Because every time you hear something, he's giving you another shadow to trace until you get to your substance. God will never give you the thing before he gives you a hint that is on the way. God, I'm getting ready to run, but I want you to look at your neighbor and ask him, can you trace what God's about to do? If you are really in tune with the Spirit of God, there should be something on the inside of you right about now that you can't explain, but it's bubbling up on the inside of you because you just feel God about it. And when folk ask you what's wrong with you, just look them square in the eye and say, I'm tracing something. God, I'm gonna get out of here. When you shouting and you don't know why you're shouting, just give somebody a high five and say, excuse me, I'm tracing something. I can't see it right now,